That ping. That iconic sound that once meant you were the most important person in the room. In 2008, it wasn't just a notification, it was your heartbeat. And then, it went silent. In 2009, BlackBerry didn't just lead the market, they were the market. They controlled 50% of the entire US smartphone industry. Presidents used them. Wall Street ran on them. Celebrities were so addicted, they gave it a nickname, the CrackBerry. Then, in less than 5 years, it was gone. Not just struggling, gone. This is the story of how the most powerful tech empire on Earth got so arrogant, so blind and so comfortable that it handed the keys to the kingdom to Apple and Google without putting up a single real fight. To understand the fall, you have to understand the genius of research in motion, or a RIM. It started in Waterloo, Canada. BlackBerry was led by two CEOs, Mike Lazaridis, the visionary engineer, and Jim Balsillie, the shark. Together, they were untouchable. Lazaridis was a visionary who obsessed over physics and efficiency. He didn't want to build a toy, he wanted to build a tool. Before the BlackBerry, mobile email was a myth. You had to be tethered to a desk. Lazaridis changed that with the interactive pager 950. It looked like a chunky calculator, but it did something magical. It allowed data to flow wirelessly, instantly and securely. People weren't just users, they were disciples. BlackBerry built a physical keyboard so precise that power users could type 60 words per minute while walking to a meeting. It was the perfect size, the perfect weight, and the perfect security for the world's most powerful people. But the real weapon? BBM. Before WhatsApp, before iMessage, BBM was the world's first private, free mobile social network. You didn't swap phone numbers, you swapped pins. This created a walled garden effect. If your friends were on BBM, you had to have a BlackBerry to talk to them. It was the ultimate status symbol. In 2008, RIM was printing money. Their stock hit $148 a share. They were the kings of mobile, sitting on a throne of physical keys and proprietary servers. And that was the problem. They were so busy looking at their balance sheets that they never saw the tidal wave forming on the horizon. January 9, 2007. Steve Jobs walks on stage, he holds up a slab of glass, no keyboard, no buttons, just a screen. While the world was stunned, BlackBerry's leaders didn't see a threat. They saw a joke. And they laughed. Mike Lazaridis watched the keynote and thought it was an impossible device. He thought the battery wouldn't last an hour, and the network would crash under the data load. In interviews, they called the iPhone a novelty. They mocked the lack of a keyboard. They insisted that serious business people would never trade a tactile keyboard for a piece of glass. This is the exact moment BlackBerry died, 3 years before the public realized it. It was the fatal refusal to take a competitor seriously. They assumed their customers were loyal to the brand. They didn't realize their customers were only there because there wasn't a better option yet. That arrogance has a price, and they were about to pay every cent. Verizon was losing customers fast. They gave BlackBerry one order: build us something to crush the iPhone. BlackBerry panicked. For the first time, they weren't leading, they were reacting. The result was the BlackBerry storm. It was a disaster. Instead of a standard touchscreen, they used SurePress technology. The entire screen was a giant button that physically clicked down. It was buggy, slow, and the software was a mess. Almost every single storm unit sold was returned. It was the first time the public realized that BlackBerry might not actually know what they were doing in this new era of apps and media. While BlackBerry was fixated on email machines, Apple launched the App Store and Android exploded. The smartphone shifted from a tool for businessmen to an entertainment hub for everyone. BlackBerry didn't have an app ecosystem, they had a glorified pager system. Inside the company, the two CEO model was starting to fracture. Mike wanted to focus on the keyboard, and Jim wanted to focus on competing with the iPhone. Decisions took months. Innovation stalled. They had a chance to save themselves. They bought a cutting-edge operating system called QNX to build a modern phone. But they spent years trying to make it work, while Apple and Samsung were releasing new flagship phones every 12 months. Then came the 2011 outage. For 3 days, BlackBerry services went dark globally. No BBM, no email. The one thing they promised was reliability. And now it was gone. The walled garden of BBM became a prison, and the inmates were looking for the exit. The fall was violent. From a $148 peak to under $10, corporate infighting paralyzed the company. Their best engineers jumped ship to Silicon Valley. By 2013, they had lost 97% of their market value. They tried one last-ditch effort with the BlackBerry 10 OS, but it was too late. The developers were gone. Instagram wasn't there. Netflix wasn't there. Without apps, a smartphone is just a brick. The users didn't leave slowly, they left overnight. Here is the hard truth every entrepreneur needs to hear. BlackBerry didn't fail because Apple was smarter. They failed because they stopped being curious. They won so big for so long that they forgot the first rule of business. Your customers do not owe you loyalty. The moment something better shows up, they're gone. Leadership wasn't stupid, they were brilliant. But brilliance without humility is just arrogance with a better vocabulary. BlackBerry had the engineers, they had the brand, they had the head start, but they chose comfort over evolution. They chose the keyboard of the past over the glass of the future. Next week, we break down how a world leader turned into a ghost. Subscribe so you don't end up the same way. And just like BlackBerry, they never saw it coming.